Can I get a green card if my spouse is a criminal? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States at our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. Most people know that when you apply for a green card, that you're going to get fingerprinted and that they're going to do a background check on you. But some people want to know, Jim, my spouse has a criminal past, has a criminal history. My spouse is a criminal. Can I still get an immigration benefit through them? And so the first thing I want to say is that I don't like to refer to people as criminals. I know that people do commit crimes, but I don't believe people should be judged by the worst things that they've ever done. Now, there's some people who have such a long criminal history that it might make it difficult for them to get an immigration benefit for their spouse. Now, there are specific provisions under the law, mostly with the Violence Against Women Act and the Adam Walsh Act, that would prevent people from either sponsoring a fiance or a spouse, that they're legally prohibited from doing that. And so whenever I apply for a case, we always want to ask about the U.S. citizen's criminal history, because if they have committed a crime involving abuse to children or sexual abuse to children, that's probably going to fall under the Adam Walsh Act and prevent them from being able to sponsor someone. Like, they're legally barred. Congress has said they cannot sponsor someone. That's one of their forms of punishment for their sexual crimes. They're not going to be able to sponsor someone for a fiance case or a spouse case. And if people have crimes involving violence against women, that might make it hard to ever get the embassy to approve a visa if there's provisions that would prevent that. But the biggest issue with criminal cases is a lot of times the U.S. citizen isn't honest. They might not be honest with me. I've had clients who didn't tell us about prior sexual abuse claims that they've had against them. I've had situations where the U.S. citizen gets sent for fingerprinting, and that they then it's revealed that they have this criminal past, and so it can make it harder for the cases to get approved. It can also make it impossible for cases to get approved. Now, one of the big problems is that a lot of times the U.S. citizen doesn't tell the beneficiary about those problems. So whenever I hear there's any kind of criminal past, I want to make sure that the beneficiary is fully aware of that. I would never want to be involved in a case where we're getting a fiance visa or a spouse visa overseas for someone and they weren't aware of their spouse's criminal past. That's also true here in the United States, of course. You always want to make sure that everybody's on the up and up. Another problem with having a criminal past on the U.S. citizen side is that USCIS might think that if you've committed other crimes, then you would be willing to engage in immigration fraud. So the other day, we were getting ready to file a case, and the beneficiary the U.S. citizen just casually mentioned that she had this court proceeding. And so that led us to do a search of her court proceedings. And it turns out this U.S. citizen, the person who wants to sponsor her husband for a green card, has not one, not two, not three, but 4 warrants out for her arrest. Well, the federal government and federal buildings is a place where warrants sometimes get executed. So she had a bunch of criminal history and a bunch of criminal problems. She had a lot of what looked like to be drug-related behavior, stealing, breaking and entering, stealing her mother's wallet, all these kinds of things. And so in my mind, that's going to make it really, really hard to get a green card case approved. And so we actually left that client alone, and we walked away from that client. We gave them a refund of some of their legal fees, and we sent them on their merry way. And we told them, we don't think that this petitioner is going to be able to get you a green card based on their long criminal history. Another case we had recently involved a situation where a U.S. citizen never told his wife about his criminal past and the fact that he was on parole. And so the officer looked at the address on the forms and noticed that the address that had been provided to the probation officer was different than the address provided on the forms. And he called out the parolee for lying about where he actually lived. And then that everything sort of unraveled, right? And so the guy ended up withdrawing the case, and it was a big old mess because of the criminal past of the U.S. citizen. And so what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's impossible for the U.S. citizen with a criminal history to sponsor someone unless it's under the Adam Walsh Act. But you're going to have a whole lot of disclosure. You're going to have a whole lot of explanations. I think you're going to have to show some degree of reformation that the person has turned their life around. If they've just recently gotten done with some criminal stuff, I think that's going to make it even harder. So I think at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that if you have a criminal past, you might be able to sponsor someone for a green card, but everybody's going to have to be fully aware. It's going to have to be fully discussed. It's going to have to be addressed. You're going to have to make the officer convinced that this person is no longer engaged in criminal behavior, even though they are the U.S. citizen, and even though the law doesn't necessarily prohibit them from sponsoring someone for a green card. I think on a practical, real-world situation, what they would do is either not approve it or just sit on it and wait to see if one or the other party gets divorced or gets arrested, and just wait to see what happens. And I think that's really what you're up against, is that they're not going to be in any hurry to approve that case. So if you have questions about this, or if you're wanting to hire us to help you with your green card, give us a call, 314-961-8200. Email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. Be sure to join us in our Facebook group. It's a free group. We have about 15,000 people in there talking about the immigration process. We'd love to have you join us there. Don't forget our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the channel. We have thousands of videos on there. We have our Immigration Answers live show, which I do 3 or 4 times a week. You can come on and ask me a question. If you want to get in the waiting room first, just text the word show to 314-470-3300. And then finally, if you're not following us on TikTok, we ask that you please do, @Immigration Hacking. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next video.